Hi, this is Sujata Assomull, and I am on the Space at 9x2's Instagram account today. We are here to discuss. Hello, this is Sujata. Hi, and this is the Space at 9x2's Instagram account. We're going to start in a few minutes. Joining us will be Nonita Kalra. I don't think she needs much of an introduction. She has been an editor for over 3 decades. Currently, she is the editor-in-chief of Tata Click Luxury. Before that, she was the editor-in-chief of Elle and Harper's Bazaar. I like to call her the OG editor, and she's joined us. Hi, Nonita. I am going to try and send you a request. Maybe you can send me a request, Nonita, and you've sent me one. Joins, I just want to tell you a little bit about the space at 9x2. It's a multidisciplinary studio. They do everything from exhibit designs and hi, Nonita.
Hi, sweetie. How amazing is this that the first time my Instagram live worked properly is with you because I'm so terrified of you.
No, I'm just your lucky charm. Can I put
everybody
it that way?
for everyone who's just joined us, Sujata was gifted to me at 21 by Mr. Ashok Advani, and he said, "Take her
I
under
wasn't
your
even
wing."
21. I
You
turned
weren't
21.
even 21, but I've worked for you ever since, Sujata. I'm
I
terrified
know.
of Suj.
So Nonita was my first boss, and then we moved from Indian Express to business. No, from Business India to
Business
Indian
India
Express
to
to
Indian
L.
Express to L, and you got me my job at Indian Express. I remember you asking me, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I just quit BITV." What a
And I
beautiful
said, I
place
need a
that
boss.
was.
And I said,
Yeah,
I need a boss. My
I
exact words
know,
were, So
I
anyway,
know.
we are here to discuss impacts of exhibits in fashion for Space by 9x2. I just want to give a small introduction to the space.
Of
It's a
course.
really young, driven, multidisciplinary studio. They do everything from design to exhibits. They've just finished putting together one of their first live exhibitions uh, not post, actually, during the pandemic. And everything they do, they want you to go away with starting a conversation in your head. And today they asked me to talk about exhibits and fashion. And the guest had to be who I call the OG editor of fashion, Nonita Kalra. So, Nonita, what was the last fashion exhibition you went to?
I went obsessively to the Dior exhibition at the V&A, and I'm saying obsessive
You
because
went more than once, I remember.
oh, yeah. I went once by myself and I actually used pull. And you know how I am. I never ask anyone for a favor, but I asked the Dior team in India to get me in because it was so busy. Then my husband and I got a V&A membership just so that we could go a second time. And then I went a third time just so that I could cry. It was so moving for me. And the second time I went, of course, I went and I told him my stories of when I went for the shows. And you and I, Sujata, we've had, parallel careers. You've been in fashion longer because you've, in a sense, grown up with some of these names. But I sort of went with Brighu, sort of showing him the various designers behind your, um, and the last time I went and I cried because the beauty of the way they put it together, you're drawn into it. And you see people of all ages. And I love the special little bit they done for England because, for London and his relationship. Everything about it is about the magic of fashion, right? When you can see clothes up close and personal and you can see the stories of the designers and you can love them and hate them, right? The whole thing about an exhibition is provoking a reaction, whether you polarize people or not, but you get them to react. So
I
that was
think
my
what
last
many
one.
people don't know is that actually the Dior exhibition and like Savage Beauty, which was the Alexander McQueen, are actually the most visited shows that Great Britain have seen. That fashion exhibitions are some of the most important shows because they are some of the most visited shows in museum, and they really, really bring you to bring you into the museum.
Sujata, the kind of people who were there were old women, young women, women talking about, somebody who had worked in an atelier. There were art students. There were exhibit students. It was just, I actually went and people watched as well.
I think the
And then,
exhibitions were what make us realize how democratic fashion is and how
yes,
fashion really tells you about that moment that you live in. When you see Princess Margaret's dresses in that exhibition, because you were talking about the relationship with England, and those dresses are just stunning.
yeah,
You, it says so much about that time that they lived in. I mean, all those dresses, and then you see, the bar jacket and how there is a constant language, but a constant language that evolves with time. And you really understand that fashion is about culture. Fashion
it
is
is.
not just about clothes.
But Sujata, right on the top floor of the V&A, I mean, there was the whole Kings Road sponsored Mary Quant exhibition. And if anything tells you about, London and its alternate pop culture, it was that exhibition. At the same time, there was Mary Quant's exhibition, there was a car exhibition. So Brigu went to the car exhibition. I was with Mohan. We went to this. You can spend days and hours. And then, of course, there's the costume library, right? I mean, so what is it about exhibitions? It's you can immerse yourself into the moment. You can be part of it. And that's why exhibits and physical spaces are so
But
important.
exhibits
You can
only
wear them.
work, yeah, only work if they're curated well. So I'd like to take you to this word curated. Um, I think 2 years ago, being a curator was like being an influencer. The broadening of the term had become so huge. There's another word with B I could use, but I don't want to use that over Instagram. It's not a word it's very ladylike, but it had become too broad and it become like influencer. And actually, the word curator means custodian or keeper. How important is that role of the curator, and what is a curator to you?
Okay, so it's an overused word and it's trendy to hate the word, but it is the most important word in anything we do. An editor of a magazine, and we've both been editors of the same magazine, is a curator, right? They whittle down and share with you a point
It's
of
the
view.
edit. You come to a magazine for an edit and its point
For
of
an
view.
edit, for a point of view, right? One of my favorite exhibitions is not a fashion exhibition, but it's when I realized that museums and spaces are now actual virtual speaking alive places. Was India and the World in 9 stories, the one that Naman Ahuja put together,
Mm-hmm.
both at the NGMA, both NGMAs, right? The way he just wove together how the whole world was the same place through centuries, through a piece of rock that was used as a weapon as you walked in, it made me realize that museums are alive and kicking. Physical spaces need to exist to tell stories. What Bikaner House does, whether it was through the Swati and Sunena exhibition, through the story of Zari and Gold, who would have thought that you can see gold come alive? That's what a curator does. A curator has a point of view, they execute it, they tell you their story from their point of view. And it's wonderful at a point, and I love democracy. Sujata, I'm the biggest fan of democracy. I love it. But I think democracy has taken away the point of view. If everybody has a point of view that's meant to be equally valid, you're getting away from the experts in the field.
I think also the fact that it comes from the word custodian means a lot to me, that you are a custodian, because even when you're the editor of a magazine, you are the custodian of a brand with a point of view. So it's that
Yeah.
balance that when you are the curator, you are also a custodian of the Victoria and Albert brand and the Met brand, and they all stand for something. Now, something that's always interested me, and I know we've always spoken about this, is there are no real costume museums in India. I mean, they're not anything like the V&A and the Met. Yet we probably are the country of the biggest heritage of textiles and costumes.
It's because we don't take the business of fashion seriously. We don't take the business of archiving seriously. If you look at our museums as well, and this could get me into trouble, but we have the most spectacular museums in Delhi, for example. Where do you see
Most
anything?
beautiful spaces in Delhi. We have a
But
beautiful space even in Bombay, a stone's throw
yeah,
from your house. You
but they
know,
are they're just dusty old spaces. Things are not pulled out properly, they're not advertised properly. Do you know the NGMA has the largest collection of Amrita Shergill's work, 200 pieces? It used to
at
be
least in
like where
art,
I
there's an
came.
archive. In fashion, there actually is no archive.
So
You
that's
and
what
I
I'm
have
saying.
worked with several designers, and whenever we've asked for archive pieces, we've never been able to get them. Do you
That's the
think,
point I'm making. We
yeah,
don't
do you think
take
it's,
fashion as seriously as art. We
but
think
do you think it's
fashion is
also in our
frivolous.
teaching? Do you think it's also because you asked me a very interesting question the other day, Nonita, about how, because I now live in Dubai, that Arab designers actually keep archives. So I went and I asked on your behalf some of the designers, and they said it comes from the fact that they were trained in France and it's very much something that's taught at school, the importance. Do you think that it is missing from our education system, the importance of archiving?
Sujata, it's missing in many points, but it stems from the fact that we don't take fashion seriously. It's still considered frivolous. How many times were you told, you're a smart girl, why are you working in fashion? Do
I
you
mean,
remember this? When we left Indian Express to join L, we were asked what was wrong with us. We were told we were bimbos. Has that really changed? Can we look at
I
what's happened to fashion magazines now? They don't exist because they didn't get the respect they deserve. So one is, you're right, we're not taught it. In our fashion schools, we're not taught that we have a legacy in fashion. We're taught that we have a legacy in history. We're taught we have a legacy in craft, but even craft is not being maintained like it should. And fashion is only 20 years old, right? It's so easy to archive, but if you look at designers who showed at the first fashion week, they won't have their clothes. They
no, they
won't
don't.
remember their first collection. You know, Manish Arora and I joke, I remember when his first collection was, he forgets. Because you and I were there, Sujata.
We were there at his first show, correct?
Yes.
But even we actually at that point didn't realize how important it is. I mean, let's not just blame the designers. I wish I had documented my writing, pictures I took at that point. As you said, it was just something that wasn't ingrained in us. So I mean, it's not just the designers; it is us too.
It's all of us. It's the whole business, right? We didn't know what was happening. I think also, Sujata, let's be a little charitable. When you're with something at the start of a movement, it's very presumptuous to think that you're creating history. You're just busy being the pioneers. The pioneers were not busy holding their pans and saving that little bit of gold or keeping that first pair of jeans. As pioneers, you go out and you do the job,
You're just trying to
right?
carve a pathway for something new.
Yeah, you're so busy looking for tomorrow that you're not looking for the past. But I think that with modern exhibit spaces, and it brings me to this conversation that we're having, there are clever ways to recreate some of that. But if we
But
don't
then
document it now, we'll be too
But
late.
there are designers now, like you mentioned, Swati and Sunena, who are doing these exhibitions. We've had a lot of designers recently who've turned 20 and 30, and they have done retrospectives. How do you feel they're being done in India?
In the absence of raw material, they're being done the best way they can be done. And that's me being diplomatic, right?
So, a company like Space by 9 by 2, since we are on the handle, they actually put together exhibit design. For me, this is what drew me to them. I actually didn't even know there were companies that specialized in this in India. Did you know there were companies that actually specialized in this?
No, I didn't know that. I thought that the fabulous exhibitions you see when you travel internationally, whether you go to the Fendi headquarters or, everything they lay out with the exhibition design in mind. They don't do it as everything's an art installation. So I didn't know this space existed. And I think the fact that you highlighted this space and you said we should have this conversation made me come here and want to have this, talk to you from their handle because we need to archive, we need to exhibit, right? What does the word exhibit and display mean to you, Sujata?
To me, it means to show the vastness, to understand the whole universe of something. And the only way you can get that is through an exhibition, because otherwise all you see are small parts of it. And you need to understand the universe of something before you get into the small parts of something.
Yeah, absolutely.
And as you
Absolutely.
said, there's nothing like a live show. We've realized that right now. I don't know, did you see the VNA kimono show, which I thought was done beautifully virtually?
It
But I
was
love
beautiful. It was beautiful. But the first thing I'm going to do, and I know it's the first thing you're going to do when you go back to London, and during this lockdown, my membership
the
lapsed, is go
handbag
back
show at
there.
VNA is top of my
Yes,
list.
yes. I mean, they have such incredible shows coming up. I actually just want to go there and be in a physical space. Part of the joy of being in an exhibition, Sujata, is learning from how other people are reacting. And I said this
So
earlier.
the Met has announced that they're doing their famous show this year, and they're doing great American designers. And that just spoke to me that it's such a wonderful thing to do because it is based in New York. We need to celebrate fashion. We need to celebrate the joy of fashion. And it would, you know, if you're American, can you imagine anything more than seeing the brilliant work of Ralph Lauren, Oscar de la Renta, and Bill Blass, and all those people who made fashion? Wouldn't you love to see something like this in India?
You know, I would love to see it. And I'll tell you something. We were talking about this earlier. I also miss fashion shows because that is
So
also
Nimish
part
has
of a
just said,
virtual
I miss all
exhibition.
these shows. Nimish from Shift has just comment is, I miss all these shows. So
Yeah.
you're
No,
thinking.
I mean, yeah, fashion weeks were physical exhibits as well with clothing. And we were talking about, you know, do we shop online? And I think we're slow adapters. I was talking to Nimish about this, right? And you on Clubhouse. I can buy my groceries. I can order my hydroponic vegetables easily. I can use the internet to refill a lot of things. But with clothes, you really miss
I
seeing
can
them,
do
right?
beauty because beauty is
I
just
saw
refilling
that. That
stuff.
was a
Yeah.
really nice haul. I want to know about that Tom Ford eyeliner, by the way,
Uh,
because I'm now looking for a new
there you
eyeliner.
are. You can,
Okay, fine.
we'll do a separate beauty
Yeah,
conversation.
absolutely. No,
But
but you know, here again, we need to see clothes. We need to see the energy and feel the clothes and feel. I mean, I miss Fashion Week.
it's not only the clothes, right? It's the energy, it's that emotion when you see clothes, that feeling that you get in that auditorium at the room, even in the museum, from children to old women. When you said about Dior, they all had this reaction and this feeling of fantasy and magic. You could see it on their faces as they looked at Dior, and
Hmm.
it consumed you.
You become part of a movement, you become part of a community instead of being a soloist. And I think we've spent so much of this year being solo. Whether you live with somebody or not, you're solo. You know, we need community. We need all of that emotion. And I
So
think that's why you need to be in physical spaces.
do you think this moment in this space has made people in fashion realize that we do need to archive, and because we're all in this moment we've all been looking to our past? Do you think that that means that now people in fashion have realized that we do need to do more of these physical shows and exhibitions? And do you think they'll, like we're saying, we're going to see a change towards people dressing more consciously? Do you think we will see a change that exhibitions will become more a part of what we see in India?
100%. Let's look at fashion itself. The big trend is nostalgia. You can pretend it's not. You can say, well, no, it's this, it's that. Nostalgia is so last year. Well, 2021 is so last year.
No,
So
we're
I think
seeing the
nostalgia
60s,
is
we're
going to
seeing the
be,
80s and the 20s all come back together at one time.
yeah. And I think we will, in a way, sort of feel, we will realize the importance of the past because the new normal or normal as we know it has changed, right? I think you're going to celebrate some of the old, which was important because when you have to create a fresh Sujata, you have to review the past. So I think we'll see more exhibitions. I think more people will archive. Um, anyway, now you're seeing spaces as exhibits as well. When you go to Ruchika space in Chhatarpur, it feels like an installation. It is about her space. It is about everything she believes in. Her clothes feel like movable parts of, visual language and storytelling. I think
Even
that's going to
actually, if you
happen.
go to the new Ensemble Lions Gate, I feel the way they do it is very sort of exhibition. It has this
But
kind of
that's
feel
how
of it.
it's meant to be, right?
Yeah,
You can change it
that's
around.
that's what actually, for me, a concept store is about. It's like it is curated again, so it should have that feel of almost being a museum where you can shop.
Hmm. I think, Sujata, we should take away the stigma from the word curation and make it cool again. I really think curation is so critical.
I
I
think
think the
it's
word
critical, but what upset me was that when people were saying they put together a box of beauty and put 5 things in it and said, "Oh, now this is my curated box." So yes, I'd like to take away the stinger, but I'd like people to use it properly. There's got to be respect for the word.
it's okay. I'm kinder than you are sometimes. I'm like, let them
Rarely,
use it.
rarely, but this time I'll give it to you.
Yeah, let them use it. We'll just take it back. We'll just take it back. That's all right.
So I think, but I do think if you are using the word, you need to respect what it means, because it is
100%.
it is a
Yeah.
it is a word with a lot of weight.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a word that speaks of an expertise that people can't take lightly. You have to earn the expertise.
So you have this great idea for an exhibition and you have curated it well. The role of the design, the visual design is very important, correct? The person who visually designs it, like a space by 9 by 2. So maybe you, in a sentence, could tell everyone what a visual designer adds to an exhibition.
The same thing a creative director adds to a magazine, right? You can have a vision.
But they're kind of the unsung heroes, because even within magazines, you talk about the fashion stylist and you talk about the editor and you talk about the model. The creative director perhaps doesn't get.
No, they don't. And it's something that has confounded me because I've never been able to manage without both my creative directors. You know how much I love Prashish and Apem. They look at the big picture. They look at the composition. They put all the moving parts together and present it to you in a way.
I used to call my art director, Manish Chopra, Director G. I never called him by his name because he was literally my Director G.
Yeah, no, I mean, you can't manage without them. And I think in an exhibition space, it's even more vital. It's how you walk someone through the curator's vision. That's what someone who does the design or the creative director does. They walk you through, they turn it into a physical roadmap. You know, there's one thing, we have all of these ideas in our heads and we're mapping a neural pathway. And somebody who does exhibit design just creates a roadmap and guides you through it. In a sense, they're your seeing eye dog. You're totally reliant on them on how you would see the world.
You put it so wonderfully and so beautifully. I mean, I think that is just the way to word it, as always.
You're too sweet.
So
Suj.
I think Nonita's given us lots of great insights. Before I wrap this up, I want to ask if anyone has any questions. We'd love to answer any questions you have. I can see there's Nachiket, there's Nimish, there's Sumaya, there are lots of stakeholders from the industry on this,
all our
on this
friends
conversation. And it's great to see so many of these stakeholders, but please do tell me if you have any questions for us. So the first exhibition you're going to go see in London, you're going back to London, I guess, soon. The first one you're going to see is?
I'm going to the V&A. What do you think I'm going to do? I'm going to walk down to the V&A and just go in. I'm going to spend a whole day there. I'm not going to move. But yeah, I hope I make it soon.
I'm sure you will.
Yeah, I hope I will make it soon. But yeah, gosh, do we have a lot of comments coming up, Sujata?
We don't have. We have lots of people complimenting you, telling us how much they love you, Nonita. We have lots of love. We have Ambika Anand asking, do you need to quarantine in London? Maybe you want to answer
Ambika,
that
yes. Ambika, you will need to do a 10-day quarantine. You'll need to do a test on the second day and then 5 days after that. And if you're clear both, then you don't have to do the 10-day quarantine. But I would go to London soon because as soon as Boris Johnson gets back to London from India, India is going on the red list.
So your favorite ever exhibition you've seen, we've been asked.
You know, it would have to be the Dior one because that is such a complicated history and it went through so many designers and you could watch it change, but they treated it as one man's vision. And I think when you walk through the exhibition, Sujata, you realize that Maria Grazia brought it back to classic Dior. In a sense, Christian Dior loved women and she is a woman who designs for women with that love. And that's what moved me to tears. I can still walk you through it garment by garment. I felt so in love with it. But you know, we've had the privilege of seeing some of the beautiful shows of Dior. I was there at the Palace of Versailles when they did 10 years of Galliano and 60 years of the brand. So I think when you build a relationship with the brand and you see the shows and the fashion shows and then you go see the exhibits, you fall in love and you stay in love. Very different from a lot of relationships, romantic relationships, but sometimes exhibits are easier to love forever.
So I love the Dior show. I love the McQueen show. I love Made in Italy. I love the Armani. But there was a show that I saw on Adrian's work at the Met. And I didn't really know much about him. I think I was in my 20s at that point and his relationship with Hollywood. And for me, that made me look at the fashion of film in a new light. And I think that's what, for me, an exhibition that makes me re-examine things, that's very, very exciting. And that to me is, you know, what exhibitions are about. And someone has asked us about the role of fashion exhibition and sustainability, Nonita. So maybe we can get some views on that.
I mean, I think we got to stop using this word sustainability for everything. What does it even mean in this context? If you're asking me what it means to me at a personal level, the fact that you archive and keep beautiful things and you learn to love beautiful things for a long time, that in itself is sustainable, right?
Yeah, I think
Longevity is sustainable.
what
Um,
fashion exhibits teach us is the importance of beautiful vintage, of beautiful clothing, of clothing being more than something you just wear once and you get rid of. So for me, they are teaching you the principles of sustainability.
it's teaching you how to love forever. Like I said, it's a
Yeah.
long-standing, long-lasting relationship that's sustainable, right? Museums are sustainable spaces because they're not really going out and buying new things. They're just buying old things. So it's your best vintage shop, as Sujata put it, right?
Really. So a couple of people are asking us about some recent runway fashion shows. We're not here, I have to say, to talk about runway shows. We wanted to talk about exhibitions. So if
Yeah,
anyone has any questions on the fashion exhibit space, um, please let us know. How do you share the experience of being an exhibition online? What did you think of that? Nachiketa asked that. That's an interesting question. And then his next question, which is very interesting, is would it be interesting to have two people narrate the same exhibition, the same, like two curators for one show?
100%
We've seen that in
Rashomon,
art, and it
right?
really works well in
Yeah,
art.
it's Rashomon. It's four different versions of the same truth, and I love that. In history, when we study it, you put together your arguments based on the historians whose point of view you like, right? And I mean, I like Romila Thapar. Makes me unpopular in India currently, but I like Romila Thapar's idea of India, so I would always narrate my history through her. But people are narrating history and rewriting it differently. So I think different points of view on the same subject would be really enlightening. I think digital fashion shows, I mean, digital fashion exhibits are here to stay. But I think it's really, and I like that they allow people
They allow the whole
access.
world to see it. So I don't have to
Yes,
travel to the Met, or I don't have to
yes,
travel, there are beautiful exhibitions happening in places like Chicago, and Paris keeps having them, and Berlin keeps having them. These are cities I don't get to.
yeah.
So then, I mean, there's
I,
nothing like going to see the physical one, but I love the fact that I now have a purview of what's going on in the other cities.
but the world is becoming digital, right? It's both physical and digital, and it's wonderful. I don't think the thing to do, Nachiketa, is not to compare the two. Enjoy it for its own self. Why
Enjoy
do we
each
feel
for
the
the
need to
beauty
compare?
they bring.
Why do we not just, yes,
They
just
complement each
enjoy the
other, perhaps.
experience?
Perhaps
Yeah,
they
I mean,
complement each other.
a skirt does the job of a skirt and a shirt does the job of a shirt. Leave it like that.
I think that again is beautifully put. So on that note, I'm going to wrap this up. I'm going to thank Space by 9 by 2 for bringing us together. Can you believe this is the first time we've done a live together? It's the first time we've actually done something together, I think, in perhaps a decade or so. So
Well,
thank you
it's the
to the
start
girls,
of it's the
the
start of
Space by
something that
9 by
we
2.
plan to do. And we Sujata and I are dreaming of putting together a fashion exhibition. So I hope this is the start of that. Suj, you look gloriously beautiful.
Thank you.
I'm always, you know how much I love you. Thank you, Space 9 by 2, for putting us together. This was fabulous. And
Yes,
have a
thank
good
you
weekend,
all for
everybody.
joining
Stay
us.
safe.
This is going to be saved, so you can see it again. It'll be on the Space by a 9 by 2's account, and I'm going to save it. Thank you all. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Stay safe and stay masked.